12 hours 4 in Guyana. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Welcome to your news at noon. The Guyana Fire Service stated that it is currently working to determine what transpired, leading to a major fire at the Madia Secondary School dormitory last evening. The fire service confirmed that they received the report around 23 hours 15. However, when firefighters arrived on the scene, the building was already completely engulfed in flames, resulting in 19 children losing their lives by the time it was extinguished. 14 youths died at the scene, while 5 died at the Madia District Hospital. Mark Ramutar, director of the Police Corporate Communications Unit, said one of the girls who was flown to Georgetown in a critical condition and initially thought to have died, the doctors managed to resuscitate her. She is currently on a ventilator at the Georgetown Public Hospital. 2 children remain in critical condition, while 4 are nursing severe injuries. Firefighters did manage to rescue some 20 students by breaking holes in the northeastern wall of the building. The fire service is quoted as saying, "It is a sad day for Guyana, and the entire fire department mourns with you over the loss of so many young children. Our heartfelt sympathy goes out to the relatives and friends of those young souls, and our prayers remain with you." And in other news, ESSO claimed adherence to industry standards as it regards the provision of insurance services from a business it wholly owns. The company, however, had a difficult time pinpointing which industry standards tolerate such a condition in the petroleum sector. During a press conference on Friday, ESSO President Alistair Routledge said they have $600 million of insurance, which is as required under the permit, in line with industry standards. He was at the time attempting to cushion the legitimate fear of the company not being able to financially satisfy its responsibility to clean up the environment after an oil spill and compensate stakeholders for losses. While fielding questions from the press, however, we asked Routledge to identify the standard which allows the company to provide its own insurance. In response, he sought to explain that it is normal for companies such as Exxon to do this, while failing to name the specific standard it has been adhering to in this regard. Guyana, one of the most important oil-producing countries of this decade, is managing its petroleum sector with laws that are 37 years old. Our Petroleum Act has been around since 1986 and has only been subject to minor amendments. The government had said when it released the draft model petroleum agreements that an amendment of the Act is needed to ensure the bid round is lawful. The government is expected to publish a draft of its proposed amendment of the law for consultation. Based on comments received, the government may revise the draft before taking it to Parliament for review by its members. A debate is expected in the lead-up to a vote. The government did not say when it would publish the draft, but it plans to do this before it concludes the offshore bid round, which is in the 3rd quarter of the year. No one can dispute that the Local Content Act is a law that will bring significant benefits to Guyanese businesses and Guyanese nationals. But one must always be cognizant that such optimism does not result in an overestimation of the government's achievements. We have observed a massive difference between the estimates of local content for 2022 provided by ExxonMobil and the Local Content Secretariat. Director of the Local Content Secretariat, Dr. Martin Pertab, said at the International Energy Conference that Guyana got $700 million from local content in 2022. However, ExxonMobil released a statement last week which estimated the local content spend was just $400 million in 2022 in support of its operations. This $300 million difference in estimates is staggering. One can argue that oil sector spending is not limited to ExxonMobil and the Stabroek Block. However, operations related to other blocks were minimal compared to that of Exxon's operations and certainly did not account for more than 40% of local content spending in 2022. Transparency advocate and activist for a better oil contract, Yog Mahadio, believes it is high time Guyanese wake up to their powers and leverage same to get more out of the bountiful natural resources discovered offshore. His comments come on the heels of a revelation by President of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alistair Routledge, that the oil giant would not turn its back on the nation should government demand more from the oil discoveries in the Stabroek Block. This has been a frequent excuse used by the government of Guyana to avoid renegotiating the lopsided contract. Mahadio, however, pointed out, we must be the only country on earth that allows Exxon to be superior to our Constitution and our National Assembly and refuse to do anything about it. The activist pointed out that in April this year, the European Union changed its tax rules for Exxon, demanding more taxes, whereas the Guyana government is finding more ways to give the nation's wealth to Exxon. And just before we head to a short break, with the bulk of Guyana's external loans being owed to China, the country should take note of what is happening to several poor countries that took loans from the world's biggest government lender, China, under the country's Belt and Road Initiative. For those unfamiliar, the Belt and Road Initiative is a massive China-led infrastructure project that aims to stretch around the globe. Notably, over 140 countries are a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, including Guyana. An analysis done by Bernard Condon of the Associated Press revealed that a dozen poor countries are facing economic instability and even collapse under the weight of hundreds of billions of dollars in foreign loans, much of them from the Chinese government. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We'll return shortly after the break.
Wanting to protect your family during these difficult times of COVID-19 is natural.
Stay at home, wash your hands often, and don't touch your face.
Yes, Daddy.
But are you doing these things too? And do you practice social distancing? Do you keep 3 to 6 feet away when you're shopping? Or at least stay an arm's length away in the supermarket? Remember, children learn from adults. So if you're not obeying the precautions, neither will they. We have to work towards the new normal together to keep our families safe and protected. Be part of the solution, don't add to the problem. Teach by example and do the right things.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Not a single bar of service.
Not with us. Digicel officially has the best mobile coverage in Guyana. Ookla, the company behind Speed Test, recognizes Digicel as the network with the best mobile coverage in Guyana. Be it in Georgetown or in NI, we got you covered.
Digicel, the award-winning network for everyone, everywhere.
Welcome back. The United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled on May 10th that it was too late for Nigerian claimants to sue British oil giant Shell over a 2011 offshore oil spill caused by its Nigerian subsidiaries. Reuters reported that the claimants said the oil spill had a devastating long-term impact on the coastal area where they live. The case was one of a series of legal battles Shell has been fighting in London courts against residents of Nigeria's oil-producing Niger Delta, a region blighted by pollution, conflict, and corruption related to the oil and gas industry. The action stemmed from the leakage of an estimated 40,000 barrels of crude oil on December 20, 2011, during the loading of an oil tanker at Shell's giant Bonga oil field, 120 kilometers off the coast of Delta. And locally, a 19-year-old man was on Saturday night arrested for chopping his cousin, a fisherman, to death at Conservancy Dam, Canal Number 1, West Bank, Demerara. According to information, the victim met his demise after scolding the suspect for insulting the suspect's father. The dead man was identified as 35-year-old Siram Krishna. A 41-year-old construction worker was on Sunday found dead with his throat slit along the Lusignan Access Road, East Coast, Demerara. The dead man was identified as Churandan Chaitram, called Reed of Lusignan. Detectives believe that Chaitram was murdered sometime between 21 hours on Saturday and 2 hours 30 on Sunday. Chaitram had reportedly left his home around 16 hours on Saturday to attend a wedding in the area. He was last seen alive around 21 hours that evening before disappearing from the festivities. Chaitram was not seen again until police received a 911 call informing them that a dead man was lying on the road. The Ministry of Natural Resources on 15th of May approved this year's annual local content plans for the 5 major oil companies operating in Guyana, including ExxonMobil, Halliburton, Technip FMC, Saipem, and Baker Hughes. The plans are required under the Local Content Act of 2021. Passed in December of 2021, the local content law is intended to regulate the way companies operate in Guyana's oil and gas sector, employ persons, buy services, and the way that they procure goods. The first schedule of the Act ring-fences 40 categories of work for Guyanese participation via the supply of goods and provision of services, which include food supply, rental of office space, accommodation, insurance, accounting, and legal services. And at this time, we end the newscast by turning the pages of today's Kaieteur News to page 7. Exxon's stock fell off a cliff recently. Exxon and the PPP government are pushing Guyanese off the cliff. This oil that has so much promise. This oil now so much of a curse. Dream ruined. Prospects diminished. Exxon's crying about its stock price. Guyanese are crying for justice, fair play, and truth. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing.